Well, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm here to present Senate Bill 1219. This is the first time I have partnered up with a member of the legislature on water that is not from the Central Valley. And that is because water security is not just about the Central Valley. It's not just a California issue. It's a global issue. And report after report tells us that water scarcity needs to be looked at in a nexus framework with food, health, energy, and security all part of it. A 2012 Community Intelligence Assessment report on the state of global water security indicated that between 2012 and 2040, fresh water availability will not keep up with demand absent more effective management of water resources. The report also stated that during the next 10 years, so between 2022 and moving forward, the depletion of groundwater supplies in some agricultural areas owing to poor water management will pose a risk to both national and global food markets. It also pointed to water in shared basins will increasingly be used as leverage. The use of water as a weapon or to further terrorist objectives also will become more likely beyond the 10 years. This leverage will be applied in international forums and also include pressuring investors, NGO organizations, and donor countries to support or halt water infrastructure projects. In part, this is why I have been so persistent in fighting back on misinformation about Senate Bill 559. And this year marks my third effort to provide critical funding for these conveyance projects that deliver water to farms and serve 31 million Californians. But I believe more must be done to secure our future in California. We believe that water in California, Senator Cortese and I, must be modernized in a way that I just spoke to in that context. And I want to give you another example. We took the concern of cyber attacks on our water and food sectors to the LAO's office last year. And the research that they found, they concluded that there was a lack of dedicated cybersecurity funding and staff limits and preparedness of critical infrastructure sector entities. They also noted an increase in number of cyber attacks on and variation in cybersecurity preparedness of critical infrastructure sector entities. The frequency of cyber attacks against critical infrastructure entities, including the water and wastewater system sector, and of course the food and agricultural sector, are increasing. In 2020 alone, there were an estimated 47,000 cyber attacks with payouts totaling $1.2 billion here in the state of California across all entities and sectors. In the first 6 months of 2021, we were already outpacing 2020 with 38,000 cyber attacks reported in the state, with the total amount of payouts being unknown, representing an annual increase of 62%. There have been great increases in attempted attacks on our cyber networks at many of our utilities, and we know that one occurred just last year, and it was made evident that our water and wastewater treatment plants were at risk. In this attack, the hackers targeted the chemical treatment of a drinking water plant in the Bay Area, raising the chemicals to dangerous levels. Fortunately, staff at the plant noticed the increases and managed to reverse them before it was too late for it to cause any harm. But there's still many of our facilities are still at risk from such attacks, and many, of these attacks are done. Of course, the work is done remotely. So, to combat a different time of uncertainty, Senator Cortese and I, we're working to improve the transparency of how decisions surrounding water are made and those that make them. We introduced Senate Bill 1219, also known as the State Water Resiliency and Modernization Act, to prioritize preservation and sustainability of water usage and ensure that water is protected for future generations of use. It's not intended to be an insult to, the members of the water board or anything of that sort, but really it's to speak to the urgency of the water issues in the state, and they're only growing, and the importance of having to modernize its management. Modernizing in 2022 means increasing transparency and extending ways for people to navigate processes and procedures, especially when it comes to water curtailments and what a holistic vision for water in California looks like. And as you just mentioned from our colleague, Senator Caballero, there's an issue here at hand that we need to address. People have trouble with accessing funding for clean, safe drinking water. Living without water, especially in a state where it is a right to water, we can look at a parent's inability to feed or bathe their child with water from their tap, a senior who cannot afford to buy water to live on, or a farmer having to fallow land. All of these things threaten our human security, and all of them come back to our changing climate. We must work tirelessly to find solutions to protect our water, which by default will protect our food supply chain. And I really want to emphasize the food supply chain as well, because I believe it was just last week, the president was traveling abroad and he said there will be shortages. This is just a reality, and not just in Europe and Ukraine or in the Middle East, but here in the U.S. as well. And so we definitely don't want to add to that, given that land will be fallowed based on the decisions that we make or we don't make, and increasingly our food is being imported as well. So I just wanted to point that out. With that said, I am willing and happy to take amendments to Section 1 of my bill. As outlined on pages 6 through 10 as the author's amendments. Working with the committee, I feel like we have been able to craft these amendments that dig deeper into the changes we need to make to modernize water management in our state. And I really want to thank the consultant, Dennis, for really just taking the vision that Senator Cortese and I had and putting it into language in the first section there. We appreciate that. Thank you. But I cannot take, and I will not take, the amendments to sections 2 and 3 on page 11, removing the provisions that eliminate the water board and transfer its responsibilities to the Department of Water Resources. The amendments to section 1 make this bill stronger. The amendments to sections 2 and 3 make it weaker. My district in California needs real change. That's what sections 2 and 3 give them. So I ask you to support this bill in that form. And I have 2 witnesses here today to testify in support of SB 1219, because I don't want you to just take my words for it. I want you to hear from people, in my district firsthand. And I have Scott Taylor, General Manager of the Lamont Public Utility District. And I also have Frank Galvis, a community member from Tiviston, in my district, a town that went dry just last year.